There's many philosophies around the right way or the best way to grow a dental practice. And one of the ones that I've heard is to focus and compete heavily on convenience and price. So do everything you can to make it more convenient for the person to book with you. Do everything you can to lower the price that they have to pay. And while this works for some people, I don't think this is a strategy that is sustainable for everyone. So let me talk about this for a bit. The person giving the advice was the owner of a large DSO. They had a lot of different offices, many locations, and when we see these people give that advice, and I know he meant that well intentionally, and that is the path that he followed, and he was able to find a lot of success, which is, I think, the reason why he is sharing that advice. So I'm not to say that he's wrong. It's definitely doable. But when we look at large DSOs, we have to see that they have many advantages going for them that a smaller practice doesn't. They're able to negotiate deals with insurance companies. They're able to work better pricing and cost structures with suppliers. They have all these advantages that a small practice will simply never have, or if they don't choose to go to the large DSO model. And so if we do the work of competing on convenience and competing on price, then what we're essentially doing is we're playing the game of large DSOs, and we're just playing it worse because they have all these advantages. So the path forward, if your intention isn't to become a large DSO, the path forward is going to look very different. It's not going to be about becoming the most convenient. It's not about becoming the practice with the lowest prices. And if you do follow that path without doing the work of scaling and organization and creating optimized processes and all that, then you're going to be in for a bad time. Because as we know, price competition is a race to the bottom. If you win, then you're going to have you're going to grow on thin margins. And if you come in second place or third, you don't get anything. So the race to the bottom, the race for the lowest prices, I don't think is really a sustainable game to play unless you have the resources, unless you have the partnership, unless you have the infrastructure supporting you, so that you have some level of advantage and you have a possibility of winning this game. Otherwise, I recommend you don't play it. So what are the other things that you can invest in? What are the other factors of competition besides convenience and price that you can also that you can start to lean into as a smaller practice? And that's the essence of what we're trying to do with strategy. That is what strategy is. Strategy is the allocation of our limited resources, things like time, energy, money, allocation of limited resources into different factors of competition to grow, to make more sales at the end of the day. And the factors of competition that large DSOs almost exclusively claim are convenience and price. If you think of how many insurances they accept, if you think of how many locations they have, how many hours they're available, how many doctors they have on hand to take a patient when they walk in, you can't match that level of convenience. You can't match that level of pricing. And so the other factors are where we should lean into. So things like patient-doctor continuity, things like clinical excellence, things like office atmosphere, or personability or personalization of treatments, how you present, how much time you spend with each patient. These are things that if you can invest into, then that is going to differentiate you from a large DSO. You're not coming into the playing field saying that, hey, we're going to compete for convenience and price, and if you want that, then here we are, because no one's going to choose you. They're always going to go for the DSOs. But if you come in saying we're going to be the most personalized practice in the area, that is a way to stand apart. That people want dentistry. There's other elements besides the convenience and price elements of dentistry that people want, and you're choosing to lean into one of those. And especially when you're starting and when you don't have the level of resources that other players might have, it's critical that you start leaning into one factor more than the rest, that you start to stand for something, and the people who want that now you have a chance of attracting those people. Because if you spread yourself too thin, if you do everything mediocrely, I don't know if that's a word, but if you do everything very mediocre, then you have no chance of standing apart from the people who do it better than you. So if there's someone who wants a nice office atmosphere and you're busy spreading yourself thin, so your office atmosphere is decent, just like your other stuff, then someone will choose someone who's leaned heavily into office atmosphere, if that's that one thing that they care about, right? So that's the major takeaway that I want you to take from here. And so when it comes to deciding what is the factor of competition that we're going to lean into, what will we stand for, what will we innovate on, and what will we start providing more of in a way that no one has seen in dentistry, when you ask that question, it has to lead with, or the question that has to lead that question is, who do we seek to serve? If you want to serve people who want clinical excellence above everything else, then you don't want to start investing into office atmosphere necessarily. Maybe after you've taken care of the clinical excellence part. All right, so who do you seek to serve? What is it that they want? And that is a critical question that we have to ask ourselves. And I think that we generalize too much. We look at the zip code, we look at the city that we're in, we look up the general population facts, we look up what language is spoken on average here, or what is the average income, or what's the average marital status, or the average number of children that family have. And the problem with that is that when we take these averages and when we optimize for the average, the individuals themselves aren't average. Individuals themselves are very unique. And what the average does is what averaging does is it's taking an abstraction of very unique individuals and it's outputting some abstraction that doesn't really exist. So if we build for this, the chances that we actually attract people are minimized. And the people who want average things are typically going to want cost and or convenience and pricing. And so that's where large DSOs play. And so we have to get more specific. We can't start looking at abstractions and we can't start looking at generalizations. We have to look at who are the individuals that we want to serve. And you've seen patterns of this in your own practice. You've seen the groups of people, the segmentations and labels and like the generalizations you can make about those individuals. So like this is a group of mothers who want to take better care of their children, or fathers who want their child to be more confident, or parents who whatever, or people who want to be free from whatever, right? These generalizations that we can make in a more specific way helps us identify what is it that they want and what is a factor of competition that we can lean into to better serve that group of people. And the reason that people don't visit you is because you don't stand for anything. Because if you had, then the people who wanted that would come to you and they would come from further. Like when I see the dental industry, there's a lot of average players doing average things, and there's very few actual dental practices who are standing for something and signal that out to others, to the people, so that when patients want a certain way of dentistry done, that they can go to that office. But that's very rarely done. And so what happens is you come into contact with very general groups of people. But when you start to stand for something, when you lean into the factor of competition that best serves the people you seek to serve, then they start to come from further away. They're willing to pay more. It's not about convenience and price anymore. That's why they're willing to travel more. That's why they're willing to pay more, because there's another factor of dentistry that they care more about. And that's how we need to flip the script. All right. So don't compete for convenience and don't compete for price. It's a losing game and you're at a massive disadvantage. Instead, think to who is it that you seek to serve, what do they want, and what is the factor of competition that if you leaned into heavily, you could deliver massive value such that they're willing to put cost and put price and convenience in the back of their mind and still come to you anyway. All right, that's the new path forward. Thanks for watching this video. See you guys in the next one.